All right, we are live on Las Vegas Triathlon Club Facebook page and we're recording. I'm John Mercer, president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club. I've got Bob Gamble, the ambassador of
Hello,
the
hello,
club.
hello.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. It's a nice Thursday evening. Time to do another member spotlight. And tonight we've got a special spotlight with Christina Gruber, and I'm really glad to have her on because she has such a neat story, impactful story that we're going to hear about. But she also has some neat triathlon history, and she's got some big triathlon goals I know for 2021 that I want to get into. So, hey, Christina, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing good. Well,
Very good.
I'm going to turn the microphone and camera over to Bob to do the official introduction to kick us off here.
All right. Well, thank you, John. And I hope your recovery is going well after your epic feat. I mean, like I said, you need probably a month of recovery after that. So
yeah,
you make sure you take it easy. Like John said, we have Christina Gruber on our member spotlight tonight, and it's going to be very interesting. Christina joined the club in 2017 and also did her first triathlon, the Rage Sprint, in 2017. And in that short 3 years, she has done many sprints, Olympic distance races. She's done 2 half Ironman, and in her words, about 1.5 million half marathons. So she does the 13 ones all the time, and quite a runner. She's got quite an athletic background. She's a proven athlete. We're glad to have her here. But one of the things that's interesting, and I'll shut up here in a second. We'll let Christine talk. But one of the things that's interesting about Christine is all of us, or if maybe not 100%, most of us have had injuries that we recover from. And we have a story on our recovery from our shoulder surgeries and from our knee surgeries. Christine, has a unique injury, and we're going to talk to her about it. In the last 3 years, when she's in the middle of doing all these, she was also involved in the October 1st Mandalay Bay shooting. And, we're just very fortunate she came through it, and we'll talk about that. But before we get into that, I would like to know how you got into triathlon. You've done a lot of marathons and half marathons before you started this. So what made you do your first sprint? Let's start there.
Well, honestly, I hated running in high school and didn't have any desire to start running until about 2009. Years went by. I had done a couple full marathons, some half marathons, and in fall of 2016, I got introduced to Nancy Jones and decided to do a triathlon. I never took swim lessons, or I hated, I didn't know how to swim prior to that. And I had a really bad fear of open water. And so I came to Nancy in the fall of 2016 and said, hey, I need some swim lessons and I need to get ready to do a triathlon.
She has that effect on people. It's like you're a runner, you go to Nancy, and all of a sudden, what am I doing out in the middle of Lake Mead? And there's a bicycle waiting for me. So yeah, so that's interesting. How did you go from not liking running to running all these marathons? What was the trigger that made you like running?
Honestly, a lot of life circumstances that got me outdoors and created this coping mechanism for things going on, basically.
Well, it sure beats drugs and alcohol, right? I mean,
exactly.
You're talking about a coping mechanism. There's a lot of people who go and take a different route. So,
exactly.
Kudos to you for that, for joining the running and the healthy lifestyle. Well, so, what'd you think after your first triathlon?
Well, I'm going to hear more about this first triathlon.
Okay, go ahead, John.
No, let's hear more about the first triathlon. Which one was it?
It was Rage of 2017, and I remember the water being rough, of course, in April. And I remember I had a big group come out to support me, and they knew when I was getting out of that water, I was both completely excited to get out of the water, but I had been gassed because it was rough. And it took a lot out of me, basically.
Oh. And so then you got out of the water and you felt like you survived that, obviously. And then you got on your bike. What was your bike like?
the bike was fine. You know, I made that climb up out of Boulder Beach, that awesome climb, and then made my way out to, you know, the turnaround point. It was fine, honestly. I think the hardest part of that was the swim, and then of course the run. It had been my first triathlon, so by the time I got to my run, you know, if you're not experienced in fueling and everything, you just get gas, and I bunked, you know, of course, on the run, but I made it through.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, yeah, given the swim, how long was that in your mind as you were on the bike, or when did you say, okay, I'll put that behind me and now focus on the bike and then the run?
Oh, it was done as soon as I got out of the water. I was so excited to have completed that swim and be out of the water, because that's all I wanted to do. From the minute I got in the water, I said, I just want to be out of the water. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get on my bike, you know?
And so then once you hit the run, you were pretty much in your element. You felt pretty good about it, but you said you bonked a bit, huh?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it takes a while for, I think, athletes to get used to what nutrition to use, and to, you know, to figure out what works for you, because what works for one might not work for the other.
And one thing that hits every single triathlete, especially in their first one, is you come off the bike for the first time and you start running and it's like, where'd my legs go?
Oh,
so
yeah.
You experienced that, right?
Yeah, well, I had done a couple duathlons prior to triathlons, so I had trained my legs to do the brick workouts a little bit prior to that, so I was already used to that. But it's a lot, especially after a swim and a bike. It's a lot saying, you know, I have to do another leg of this, right?
Well, that's neat. You know, duathlon is a good entry into triathlon. So when did you do your first duathlon?
It was at the same location. It was a BBSC event. I can't remember what it was called. Maybe the Sunrise Do. I don't remember what it was, but it was about a year or two prior to that.
Yeah, there was the Sunrise. There was also the Sunset one. But yeah, oh, that's good. So what got you to get into either the Do or the Tri? What was it that got you to sign up?
You know, I got into the Do. I had a boss that rode bikes a lot, and he actually just gave me his daughter's bike. My first bike, it was completely free. I had cages for the pedals. I refused to clip in until I got my road bike and Nancy got a hold of me. And then, you know, I was just ready for more, and, you know, talking to enough people, I somehow get great ideas to start doing all these different things.
Christina, how long did you ride your, you know, your first bike before you got your tri bike? I'm assuming, was that a road bike you did your first rage on, the triathlon?
It was a road bike. Yes, I did not get my tri bike until until the spring of 2018. So I went through the Rage Triathlon. I went through Kokopelli, San Hollow. Yeah, so I went through 3 triathlons before I sprung into a tri bike.
And I'm glad you bring that up. And that's important for new triathletes to realize that they don't need, you know, a high-end triathlon bike. And, you know, it's fine to get started, and probably even better. It's safer and you know, more stable, and, you know, it's fine to get started on a road bike. And a lot of people get started on mountain bikes. So we're glad. How'd you like the transition between a road bike and a tri bike?
I loved it. It felt like my tri bike was a lot lighter, so I would go faster, especially downhill. You know, anything that'll give me any speed on the bike, because I'm slow as dirt. But you know, I really liked it. Of course, you know, dropping into aero was a big change for me, and it took a while to get used to. But I actually prefer it now. It's more comfortable on my back and on the seat.
It's comfy. That's right.
That's good. Well, and, you know, it does take time to get set up right. And once you have that position, then you can ride it for some time. So that's good that you have that on the tri bike.
So what was your progression? What was it like when you went from sprints to the half Ironman? I mean, what did you do different, and what did it feel different? How did you like that?
You know, when I had decided to do the half Ironman, it was after October 1. Okay. And my reason for doing the half Iron was basically for the victims of that night. And so I used that as my motivating factor, and I trained 6 days a week. And every time I would wake up, I would, you know, play the Rocky song. You know, it's still on my alarm clock actually. And I'd have these motivational quotes, you know, on my alarm clock on my phone. And it just, every time I got up to train, I just remembered the reason I was training. And that's honestly, probably October 1 was why I got into the half Ironman initially.
Well, that is really interesting. And I think this is where we want to really get into the impactful story that you have. I don't know if everyone knows about October 1 or your involvement in it. So in 2017, you did Rage. And then in October, you have this other event that is a tragic shooting. And maybe you can just give everyone sort of what you went through and your involvement with that.
Okay. Well, so the Route 91 Music Festival was something that my friends and we had planned for a year in advance. And we were super excited. There was a lot of really good energy that weekend. You know, dancing. I love dancing, and just, you know, just hanging out with everybody. And it was literally, I will still say, it was the best weekend I have ever experienced in my life. To this day, I will say that. And, you know, on Sunday night, you know, I was there to go see Jason Aldean, and he was the final performer of the weekend. And I had stuck around when a lot of my friends had left, because I was dead set on seeing him. And, you know, I was with a small group of friends, some of whom I had just met. And I don't remember, maybe 9 or 10 minutes into his set, I can't remember how long it was, we heard fireworks, or what we thought were fireworks. And I remember looking to my friend saying, "What was that?" And we looked to the sky, and there's nothing in the sky. And then we saw people drop to the ground, and we had realized that there was an active shooter. And so I had run from maybe 20 yards from the front of the stage, right next to the catwalk. And actually, if you had looked at the police report, which came out shortly thereafter, I was in an area where there was a high population of casualties. So I felt very fortunate to have exited and made it through. But yeah, I had run towards the church is where I ended up. I don't remember my path, honestly. I don't remember what I saw. I remember seeing things from my peripheral vision, bodies falling, you know. And then I had remembered getting hit in the leg. And I looked down and I saw blood dripping down my leg, and I was like, oh crap, you know, I'm hit. Well, something kind of came over me, and my running that I had been doing for years had, I had this instinct to just run as fast as I could to get out of there. And so I ran and I ended up behind the church on the corner of Reno and maybe Koval. I can't remember. It's a Catholic church. Mm-hmm. And it was there that I was aided by a man and his wife from California. He is a firefighter. And they basically, he took a belt and he wrapped his belt around my leg to create a tourniquet, and then piggybacked me to the road where I got in the car with a group of strangers and headed off to Desert Springs Hospital. And then after that, I got transported to Henderson Hospital, where I was treated for a gunshot wound. And then I was released that morning. I should go back. I was actually supposed to do Goldilocks a few weeks later or a week later. And I had joked around with the nurses. You know, after I knew, I wasn't losing a leg, I would be okay. I said, can I ride my 100-mile bike ride, next week? And they just looked at me like I was completely insane. Mm-hmm. And, and then of course, I said, well, what about running? I'm supposed to be running another race because I'm always signed up for something, right? And they're like, oh, let's wait and see. So, obviously I was very nervous about not being able to run again and not be able to run at the strength that I used to run. And so I saw an orthopedic surgeon the next day, and that's when I had found out I had gotten 18 pieces of shrapnel combined in both legs.
Wow. So it must have been extremely chaotic as you're trying to get even to Desert Springs, the first hospital. I mean, what were you with friends at that point, or?
No, we had gotten separated. So I had run with one of my friends who, when there was a break in fire, we hid underneath a table in one of the stands or kiosks. And I remember him laying on top of me. And then when there was a break in fire, we began running again. And I just remember I felt like I was in a war zone, really, where I felt like there were bullets coming from anywhere. I didn't know where they were coming from. All I could hear was the automatic gunfire. And I can still hear that distinct noise, and it was terrifying. And I remember getting to the church, and my friend who had left prior to everything happening, she was at the Four Seasons with her daughter when the gunfire began. So she had called me, and I just remembered the only words I could get out of my mouth were "my kids. Where are my kids?" Yeah. Because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the extent of what was going on. And so I just had this panic that something was happening bigger than this festival, that maybe something could have been happening to them or to my loved ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I remember that evening I was home, and I actually turned on the news at that point. There's no way I can imagine what you went through, and just all the thoughts about family members. My son was working down on the Strip that evening, and that's where my thoughts were drawn to, and neither of us either close to what you were experiencing. That's amazing. I'm wondering, I don't think a lot of our members know that you went through this, and now that you're doing our member spotlight, they obviously do. So I'm wondering, when someone does find out that you had this experience, what are some questions that are okay for people to ask or are not okay to ask? What's your reaction to that?
I've always been very open on when someone asks me a question. I am more than happy to share. And the reason being is because a lot of people might be going through things and they think they might be the only ones going through something. So it helps them to hear that someone else has gone through something big in their life and has overcome that event or situation and has become better for it. So I'm very open to talking about it when asked. I don't bring it up much unless I'm asked, but I'm getting better just over the past couple of months, honestly, owning it, right? Just accepting the fact that it happened to me and knowing that it's part of my journey and that I'm someone better because of it happening.
Well, I really like that. And obviously we're coming up on the October 1 date now, and that was 2017. So that seems like so long ago, but that really wasn't that long ago. But I know, in talking with you and following you, that you really draw some strength from this experience. And I'd really like to hear how you pulled that positive strength that, from such a devastating experience, but yet you, like you said, you're owning it and it's part of you, and it's driving you to do, things that are bigger than what you would have been doing before. So maybe talk a little bit about.
Okay. So my driving factor during any training session, any race, is you're lucky to be here doing this. And, when I'm getting tired, I'll talk to the angels and say, give me wings. I need wings, and, I always say I'm doing this for those that can't anymore, right? I mean, there were mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, friends that lost their lives that night. And, you know, I'm sure if they were here, maybe some of them would still not be doing what we do. But man, what we do is a gift, honestly. And I feel blessed to be able to put my body to the test and to put my mind to the test. And I feel that I draw strength from all of the things that have happened and say, hey, I'm lucky to be here. So shut up and just do it, you know?
And that is, I'm sorry, that's such a great attitude, just to say, you know, it's like, yes, it was bad, but I'm lucky. I mean, I'm the lucky one. There are a lot that can't do the running right now. So to look at your running and look at when you're racing and say, I'm so fortunate to be able to do this. You know, that's a powerful attitude. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Well, and I'll say it takes a lot of strength to be able to have that perspective, because it's easy, to get drawn in a different direction, but yet you've really turned this into, part of your triathlon experience, and you've connected triathlon with your October 1 experience and that strength.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about applying that strength. I know you've got some events coming up. And
that's right. What direction are you going now with that? Yes.
So I'll start off with Sunday. The Vegas Strong event, which I do every year, has become virtual. So it was my friend's idea to get a group of us together, and we do running groups anyway. We train in groups anyway, and so we are running the Strip on Sunday morning at 5 a.m. And I'm going to be running from Town Square to Mandalay. I'm going to circle the venue, and I'm going to be doing all of this with a 20-pound vest in order to symbolize the weight that we carry still from that event, not only as individuals, as survivors, but a community, really. And I want to, kind of symbolize, okay, the first responders, they were carrying bodies out, and they had all this weight on their back, and they were still doing what they had to do. And that's kind of what I'm going for. I can run a 5K, but I want to make it harder because I want to make it special, right? And so that's my first event. My next is going to be Ironman 70.3 Hawaii in June. And that's going to be interesting because of my fear of open water swim. I've never swam in the ocean or without a wetsuit in the ocean for 1.2 miles. So that's going to be interesting. And then I'm going to sign up for IMCA in the fall of 2021. I'm going to do a full Ironman, and that's going to be amazing. I'm super excited.
Awesome. That's that strength that you have, and you're applying it out in these endurance challenges. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel I'm not improving unless I'm challenging myself, right? So.
No, that's a great way to look at it, because there is a bit of breaking down in these training, but you have to break down a little bit to have some growth. And so
Absolutely.
that's I really appreciate the perspective that you bring.
Are you doing any virtual races either this winter, or are you doing any now?
I started off doing the VR races, but I stopped and started doing my own thing. I've done some triathlons of my own and just threw all 3 sports in a training day. I'm using this time to really focus on my weaknesses, and that's the swim and the bike. And I'm taking swim lessons with Coach Cindy. I'm biking with friends. We're doing a crazy 72-mile ride on Saturday that I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into. But again, I always accept the challenges, and that goes along with all this stuff, right?
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. No, that I think you've got a nice ride planned for this weekend. So it's one of my favorite rides to do. So cool. I enjoy it. So as you've started, you started at Rage, and now you've done some halves, and I know you haven't done the full yet, but it's on the radar. What distance do you find yourself drawn to?
I love the half distance, the half iron, usually because I've made a vow that I'll always travel to somewhere new to do a half Ironman. And so it will kind of marry my love for travel with my love for racing. And yeah, I really like that distance. I like the challenge it brings to me, especially after getting on the bike and biking for 56 miles and having to run 13 miles. Yeah, I like that distance a lot, actually.
That's awesome. Well, I think you'll enjoy the full as well. So, but the 70.3, that is such a great distance. So.
Yeah.
And we've got a big group going to Hawaii.
I can't wait. It's going to be a great vacation too.
Yeah. Now, so you did your first half after October 1 and because of October 1. And I'm sorry, which half was that? That was Tempe?
Yes, it was Tempe.
So how soon after October 1 did you decide to do that half?
I would say within 2 weeks of it.
My goodness.
And how soon after it was it? How soon after October 1st?
So it was a year after.
Oh, it was a year after. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
That's pretty phenomenal that 2 weeks after. Well, okay, so now I'll ask somewhat of a negative question. Did you ever doubt yourself as you started training for the 70.3? And did you pull yourself, obviously you pulled yourself to the start line and to the finish, but.
Oh, I doubt myself constantly. Just saying the distances of the full makes me want to vomit in my mouth, honestly. But I don't let myself quit. I just keep going. I've had a DNF. I did St. George 2 months before Santa Rosa, and I got to the top of Snow Canyon with a minute to spare. I missed the cutoff by a minute, and I was so mad because I said, man, just get me to my running shoes because I'll finish this race, but it's fine. 2 months later I did Santa Rosa, and I had the best race ever, honestly. I PR'd in the water. I had a great swim. It was a great race overall. So I always doubt myself, but we get through it.
So I appreciate the DNFs. I've had DNFs as well. And I actually think that's part of maturing as an athlete because, we all say, oh, we'll just gut it out and we're finished no matter what. But there are times where you need to stop and say, no, this isn't the day. Or in your case, sometimes you don't get to a certain cutoff, but that's part of the sport. And, it's part of, the doubt that we all have it going into the race.
And every experience like that is you learn from it. I mean, anytime I've ever not been able to finish anything, I learned what I need to do to finish it based on the failure. So it's really not a failure. It's not at all. It's just a learning.
Absolutely.
So I want to hear, as you were coming down the finish line chute from the Tempe 70.3, which you decided to do after October 1. Tell us what that was like.
I had some pretty bad back issues around that time. So I was in a lot of pain on that run. And when I was coming down the chute, I was really emotional, super emotional. And when I had crossed, one of my teammates or friends had said, you do realize you finished 58th in some sort of and as soon as they said that, I broke down in tears.
Oh my goodness.
It was an awesome feeling to finish that race, just knowing where I had been a year ago and knowing the things I had overcome to get there. It was a special race.
And for those listening who don't know the significance of the 58, that's how many people died at that event. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's amazing that happened.
Oh, that is, and okay, so that is just again a testament to your strength and getting to the finish line, and obviously you were doing it for more than just yourself. But now I want to turn the tables a little bit and ask you to maybe give some advice to the new triathletes out there getting started. You know, you started Rage before October 1, but then you still had, you had a big reason to do the next series of races. So maybe give some advice to folks.
Well, train. Don't not train like before St. George. Always, you know, train. Don't take that distance, whether it's a sprint or Olympic or half, for granted. Any distance, even the sprint, is a big feat and a big accomplishment once you finish it, right?
Right.
Most of the human population will barely run a block, let alone run 3 miles after they've swam, after they've biked. So never discount the distance, and always train and be prepared. Train your body so you don't get injured. Strength train so you don't get injured.
Oh, amen.
Fuel. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're not, you know, drinking till 2 in the morning and getting up to go train. You know, I've made all those mistakes before, and so I've become a better person because of it, honestly. Another lesson I learned really well in St. George is don't underestimate yourself. The reason I had such a small time frame to get to where I needed to be before getting to cutoff, I was terrified of getting in the water that day. And it was colder, and I didn't get into the water where I should have. I should have gotten in a lot sooner with faster swimmers, and that cost me the race, honestly. Mm-hmm. So don't underestimate yourself either.
That is a great message, and I think you're right. A lot of people do underestimate what they can accomplish. So that is really great advice.
And also, there's one thing that you didn't mention that I think actually applies to you, is that there seems to be more in your tank than what you had given yourself credit for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you could actually do more than you thought you could do, and that's a good thing to know.
Yeah, it's like you know, I listen to a lot of Goggins, and there's a I can't remember the percentage rule, but you always have a certain percentage more than what you can give. When you think that you're done and you can't give any more, you've got so much more to give after that. And always keep that in your mindset. And, you know, towards, you guys know, you guys race. At the end of a race, it's not about how your body feels anymore. It's all about that mind game that you're trying to fight against and overcome.
No, that's great. Your mental fortitude is really on the top end. So
yeah, it is.
That's fantastic. Christina, this has been great to talk with you. I really appreciate your openness in talking about October 1. I think that helps all of us to hear your story and maybe understand a little bit more about what it's like. And I think that helps us all as we're training and racing. So thank you so much for coming on and letting people get to know you a little bit more.
Of course. You know, I appreciate you guys having me and allowing me the platform to kind of share my story. And, you know, if there's anybody that needs someone to talk to or has been personally affected by that event as well, feel free to reach out. You know, if I could pay it forward in any way, shape, or form, I am more than happy to, and I will do my best to help someone else. So if anybody wants to talk more, just reach out.
Oh, that's great. And
wonderful.
I imagine you have a bond with others that went through the same event, and that is great that you're able to help others out because it is hard, but it is good to be able to talk with someone who really has shaped it in a way that you're moving forward in some neat endurance challenges. So it's going to be fun next year, 2021.
Yes, and good luck to your goals and your June Hawaii half. I mean, it sounds like you're going to have a really killer, job, a very nice 2021. So
I'm super excited. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Christine. Well, thanks again so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You guys have a great night.
You too. Thank you.